The session starts. Over to you, sir. Now we are going to felicitate Professor Venerable Gyanaratna Bhikkhu. And to do the honor, I am requesting Professor Shashwati Mutsuti, Department of Pali, Capital University. Over to you, sir. Sir, please come to the podium, sir.
Thank you very much. I think I have to.
Yeah, we are very sorry. Where is she from? Yes, na.
You have, you may introduce him.
That is what I am saying.
मैडम अपनी जान
ठीक है जो मैं बोल रही हूँ स्टार्ट करना है मैं शुरू कर दे ठीक है
ये जो है इसको पढ़िए पूरा अभी का भरद्वाज पूरा का पढ़ जाइए पहले
ये ओके एडमी
प्रदीप दा दोनों बैठे हुए साथ
ওখান থেকে মিট করা যাবে না তো ইয়ে থেকে কোনো ওটাকে কাটুন ওটাকে ছোট করুন
এটা একটু জেনে নিন ছোট ভাষায় কে কোন সাবজেক্ট এটা করুন ঠিক আছে
এনেকে হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে ওকে ফাইন
Thank you very much for introducing me. Today morning also, I started to talk something about the Japanese Buddhists. The subject was presented by Minwa Kenyu. And also, in the morning session, I saw about the Buddhist tourism, which was really very important discussion has been taking place in the morning, and also the living Buddhism, whatever Professor Raj presented, we saw those things also. So again today, I have a special lecture on Buddhist cultural heritage site of Bangladesh. Today's the organizer, Institute of Language and Research, also Sanskrit College, along with the Calcutta University. I'm honored to be here and thanks a lot to the organizer. The subject about Buddhist cultural heritage site of Bangladesh. You can see a lot of information in the net even. But today, whatever I'm going to present is a present moment and about the first story of the heritage site of Bangladesh. Before delivering the lecture, I have to discuss about a little bit about the Buddhism of Bangladesh and the historical background a little bit too. Buddhism is the third largest religious affiliation and form about 0.6% of the population of Bangladesh. It is said that Buddha once in his lifetime came to this region of East Bengal to spread his teaching, and he was successful in the converting the local people to Buddhism, especially in Chittagong division, and later on Pala Emperor propagate and patronize Buddhist religion throughout the Bengal territory. About 1 million people in Bangladesh adopt to the Theravada school of Buddhism. Over 50% of the Buddhist population is concerned in Chittagong Hill Tracts region, where it is the predominant faith of the Rakhine, Chakma, Marma, Pamchenga, and other Juma people and the Marwa Buddhist. The remaining 50% are Bengali Buddhist. Buddhist communities are present in the urban center of Bangladesh, particularly Chittagong, Dhaka, Kumilla, Noakhali, Patuakhali, and Chittagong Hill Tracts. In this article, I'm going to present most of the important Buddhist heritage sites of Bangladesh. History of Bangladesh Buddhist. Legend said that Gautama Buddha came to the region to spread Buddhism, and it was speculated that 1 or 2 individuals came monks to follow in his footsteps. However, Buddhism did not gain much support until the period of the Ashoka, when Buddhism gained a toehold. The Pala Emperor that controlled the Indian subcontinent spread many Buddhist ideologies in modern Bangladesh and built many monasteries such as the Mahastangad and the Sompur Mahavihara. During the Pala dynasty, a famous teacher named Atisa was born in the city of Bikrampur and spread Mahayana Buddhism. Chandra dynasty, Purnachandra and Subarnachandra adopted Buddhism, as did their successor Tailokya Chandra and Sri Chandra, who ruled Harikal and Chandradeep. The Kharga dynasty was a Buddhist dynasty of king that carried the surname Bhatt. They made several temples and monasteries. King Rajavata was, for example, a very committed Mahayana Buddhist. Buddhism in various forms appear to have been prevailed at the time of the Turkey conquest in 1202. The invading armies found numerous monasteries which they destroyed. With the destruction of center of Buddhist learning, such as Nalanda University, Buddhism rapidly disintegrated. In subsequent centuries and up through the 1980s, nearly all the remaining Buddhists lived in the region around Chittagong, which had not been entirely conquered until the time of the British Raj. During the 19th century, a revival movement developed that led to the development of 2 other orders of Theravada monks, which called the Sangaraja Nikaya and the Mahastipir Nikaya. In the Chittagong Hill, Buddhist tribes formed the majority of the population, and their region appeared to be a maximum of tribal belief and Buddhist doctrine. According to the 1981 census, there was approximately 7 lakhs Buddhists, but at present there are 12 lakhs Buddhists in Bangladesh and more than 3,000 Buddhist monasteries around the countries and 3,500 Buddhist monks and novices, presenting less than 1.2% of the population. There are a number of important Buddhist archaeological sites located in what is present-day Bangladesh. Historically, Bangladesh was once part of the Greater India and known as the East Bengal. To understand the significance of this site, one must consider the overall context of Indian archaeology and the development of the Buddhism in certain locations. These are referred to Paharpur in the Nagaon district, Mahastangarh in Bogura, Mainamati in Kumilla, and Bikrampur in the Dhaka district. Each site in this area has unique qualities as part of the history. Some archaeological sites in Bangladesh are important for both Hindu and the Buddhist investigation because religion, sculpture of each can be found. Historically, the Pala dynasty, a series of Buddhist rulers spanning 7 to 12 centuries, dominated Bengal. Under their patronage, many world-famous monasteries are built, the remains of which are revealed in the archaeological site in Bangladesh. Due to political exclusion, when Hindu and Muslim ruler dominated Bengal, many important monasteries or stupas are revealed and replaced by the later construction. As a result, what we see today is not necessarily the original Buddhist construction, but a combination of historical changes. A brief account of Bangladesh Buddhist Heritage Site. Extant travel record from Chinese pilgrims that visited throughout Greater India in 7th century helped provide clue for archaeology of the uncovered lost Buddhist heritage site. In 1879 to 80, Sir Alexander Cunningham archaeological expedition in selected area were carried out in Paharpur and Mahastangarh district in present-day Bangladesh. He also reported on Basubihara near Mahastangarh. Later excavation by other archaeological teams revealed monastery remain in Paharpur, which proved to be the biggest Buddhist monastery in the subcontinent. It is noteworthy to mention that the outstanding achievement of Cunningham was his identification to most Buddhist heritage sites, and these are landmark archaeological sites in Bangladesh. On the basis of Cunningham's original expedition, a subsequent number of archaeological scholarly achievements have been written of and published over the year. The first scheme on the archaeological studies in Bengal was conducted by Bangya Sahitya Parishad in Calcutta in 1893 to 94. The Parishad progressively built up a rich collection of scriptures. In 1905, the Parishad has been flourished in Rangpur, Rajshahi, Dhaka, and Kumilla, and is one having one collection of scripture. In 1914, the director of Dhaka Museum, Mr. Nalini Kumar Bhattasali, traveled extensively to Mainamati, Bikrampur, etc., and two of his works are particularly noteworthy for references. Iconography of Buddhism in Brahmanical scripture in the Dhaka Museum, and the coin and chronology of the early independent sultans of Bengal. Following his travel and reports, a museum was established called Borendra Richards Museum in 1919. It is part of the University of Rajshahi. As years passed, the fieldwork and research at the archaeological site in Bengal were neglected for a long time due to geographical difficulty. Access to remote location from the main center of the subcontinent, and mostly lack of government support. Since the independence of Bangladesh 1971, the government has undertaken a number of field projects, including excavation. This work is providing fresh evidence about the mostly Buddhist archaeological sites and new aspect of Bangladesh cultural history. Specific Buddhist archaeological site. 6 particular Buddhist sites are considered the most important. They are grounded into 2 parts, frame of references. Earlier excavation and recently excavated archaeological sites. The earlier excavated Buddhist sites are Sompur Mahavihara, Salban Vihara, Mahastangar, Vasubihara, and Haluda Vihara. And the recently excavated site is the Buddhist Vihara in Bikrampur of Dhaka district. Of course, one more excavation also come into our eyes, also the newspaper, is in the Narsindi, Wari Vateshwar. Paharpur Buddhist Monastery. The monument at Paharpur was first excavated in 1922 to 23, and it is considered the largest monastery in the Indian subcontinent. It was known as the Sompur Mahavihara, located in Rajshahi district. The excavation continued until 1934, and a report was published in 1938 as Memories Nom 55 of the Archaeological Survey of India. The origin date to the Pala dynasty in 8th century. The site covered an area of 27 acres of land that included a quadrangular court measuring more than 900 feet. The external wall on each side extends about 16 feet in thickness and measure 12 feet to the 15 feet in height. The total complex of 177 rooms has 45 rooms on the north side and 44 in each of the other 3 sides. The excavation findings have been preserved at the Varendra Research Museum in Rajshahi. It is interesting to note that the Borobudur temple in Indonesia was the contemporary of the Paharpur Buddhist monastery as their foundation. According to the research, the Sompur Mahavihara was so glorified in Tibetan during the 9th to 12th century that many Tibetan monks visited to Mahavihara. The world-famous Buddhist scholar Atisa Dipankara Sirigyana stayed at the Mahavihara for many years. It is one of the most important archaeological sites in Bangladesh and declared as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1985. Mainamati Salban Vihara. At Mainamati, the principal monument is Salban Vihara, which is the main interest here. During Mr. Nalini Kanta Bhattasali tour, he found several Buddhist sites, including Salban Vihara, and reported his finding in the book Iconography of Buddhist and Brahmanical Scripture in the Dhaka Museum. It was published in 1929. It is mentioned that about 55 scared ancient remains of settlement from the 8th to 12th century and are known as Mainamati Lalmai are located throughout the Kumilla district. The Salban Vihara is the middle of the Mainamati range and consists of 115 small rooms. Excavation had continued since 1955. An item chassis, copper plate, gold and silver coin, and more than 150 bronze statues have been found. The largest number of stone sculpture, and terracotta flag has been found in Kumilla's archaeological sites, representing Bengal and the subcontinent. Many items can be seen in the Mayavati Site Museum, which is the richest in artifacts amongst other museums in Bangladesh. The excavation of the Mayavati sites are noteworthy for revealing previously unknown facts about the Bangladesh politics, religion, historical and Buddhist architecture. B.M. Monison's book, Lalmai, A Cultural Center of Early Bengal, an Archaeological Report and Historical Analysis, 1974, document this finding. Mahastangar. The Mahastangar archaeological site in the oldest site in Bangladesh. It is a known Hindu site and considered a great sacred place. In 1907, the excavation revealed gold ornament, coin, and terracotta objects which are now presented in the Mahastangar Museum. Although it is not as well known for Buddhists, there are probably remains of the Gupta and Pala period temples which are remarkable for the Buddhists and the Hindus. During 1928 to 29, the excavation at Mahastangar recovered buildings about to be Hindu religion, such as Govinda Bita and also the Lakshmindra Bita. The Vasubihara. During the Kalimpong's tour, identified this site 6 kilometers northwest of Mahastangar. Excavation had exposed 2 large Buddhist monasteries and a medium-sized Buddhist shrine. In 1970 to 80s, further excavation revealed a small monastery considering of 37 small rooms. From the Vasubihara site, bronze statues and terracotta flag have been found. The building indicate 3 types of religious architecture: monasteries, shrine, and cruciform structure, as mentioned by Monica L. Smith in the book called The Social Construction of Ancient Cities. Haldia Vihara. The Haldia Vihara is located 15 kilometers west-southeast of the Paharpur Buddhist Monastery. There are many scattered ancient monuments, including large area of about 100 feet across and 25 feet high. The Department of Archaeology of Bangladesh excavated the site in 1984 to 1993 and found stone image, metal image, terracotta flag, and ornamental bricks. Unfortunately, local people are building house on the southeastern corner of the monument today and damaging the integrity of the site. Approval is pending to recognizing this site on the World Heritage List, but progress is very slow. Buddhist Vihara in Bikrampur, the last one. The excavation on the Buddhist Vihara in Bikrampur of the Dhaka district was jointly conducted by the Department of Archaeology of Jahangirnagar University and the Agresar Bikrampur Foundation. After 4 years' effort, a Buddhist monastery was completely unearthed by March 2013. More than 100 statues and sculptures have been found in the monastery site. The project researcher Safi Mostafizur Rahman said that the monastery is related to Atisa Dipankara Sri Gyala, a renowned Buddhist scholar who was born in Bikrampur. The ruling government of Bangladesh announced that the discovery of the new Buddhist Vihara here will invite a new era of our history and heritage. In conclusion, very short, I want to say it is noteworthy to mention that archaeological researchers in Bangladesh are asking a government for increased budget allocation in order to preserve the important cultural heritage site in this country. And with good reason, Bangladesh is somewhat of forgotten depository of South Asian Buddhist heritage, and it is highly time that its sites are given the attention and care they deserve. So we are very thankful to the government of Bangladesh because they have their very good intention to excavate those Buddhistic sites. Side by side, it's also said that whatever you discuss about the tourism, the Bangladesh government, they themselves also trying to increase Buddhist tourism in Bangladesh too. Thank you very much for giving me a chance for presenting my article. Thank you.
মানে বিহার ধাপের কথাটা আপনি বিহার ধাপ যেটা মস্তানগড়ের না 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 ওটা খুলনা না। মানে ওই যে মহাস্থানগড়ে একটা ভাসুদিয়ার কাছাকাছি আর কি একটা সাইট আছে, ওটাকে বিহার ধাপ বলা হয়। সেটার সম্পর্কে কিছু আসেনি।
আর একটু ভালো লাগলো মানতে যে সরি আমি মুখে দাঁড়াতেও পাচ্ছি না, যে সেটা হচ্ছে যদি একটু আমরা স্লাইড গুলো দেখতে পারতাম তাহলে আরো বেশি আমাদের কাছে স্পষ্ট হতো। ওকে 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 এনিওয়ে নো হ্যাঁ ইয়েস ওকে স্যার নাও ওভার টু প্রফেসর লাভ স্যার।
Other speakers also?
No,
I saw online Pradeep Das.
if he want to do any comment.
No,
I don't know.
he also going to present the paper
No.
online. No.
This one is a special lecture actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a really very informative and illustrating paper on the present condition of Buddhism and Buddhist heritage sites in Bangladesh. It is, if we look at the fate of Buddhist sites in Pakistan, they have been by and large destroyed. Bricks have been taken out from the sites of Buddhist sites in Pakistan. I was told, I have not been there, but some of my friends have been there, and they said that people are doing a lot to harm, to destroy everything. You know the fate of Bamyan Buddha in Afghanistan. So likewise, but same, not in the same intensity, but there may be antipathy or simply ignorance about the importance or preservation of Buddhist sites in Bangladesh also. But these are some of these Chittagong, hill tracks and Dhaka, Noakhali, Komilayu mentioned about those sites and how Ashoka and Palas they contributed in propagation of Buddhism, and many Sompur, Jagaddal and other universities came up. So it is, I'm sorry to say, but in the most of the Muslim countries where Muslim dominance is there, they have not left any stone unturned in harming the cause of Buddhism and Buddhist sites. I'm very happy that the people in Bangladesh, they, particularly Buddhist communities and intellectuals, they are aware of this fact, and they are making all efforts to preserve the sites. And in the previous session, we were talking about how Buddhism should be made an active religion, and not only religion within inverted commas, but socially engaged Buddhism. We were talking about the preservation of Buddhist sites. sensitization of people about the importance of these sites. That should be there in Bangladesh as well. And it is, I'm very happy, we feel very happy to know that a lot of things are going on there. But still, we should continue our efforts to preserve them. Professor Pradeep Kumar Pandit, you want to say something? Yes. Yeah.
Actually, sir, I'm working in that area long 20 years. Actually, 1933. Bangladesh, actually, archaeological survey, many friends also be there, and you can actually Narshindi and all are visited. But the budget is very less for Buddhist site, and also the Moinamoti, the encouragement also be there. We are actually now UNESCO, we are trying, and actually Moinamoti, actually we are actually made the president, not only me, but my Sanaj and all are there. So we can, but there's no supporting that. Also we, what are we hoping also be there, and also the you can very in Chakma communities and Mogs and Myanmar, all these communities, they are very suffering because the encroachment of these Muslim, most actually the conversion, the most of the conversion also gradually also be there because that the monastery not supporting these inter villages, okay, because they are language and Arabic language and their funding all are there, but it is actually the monastery role is very important because that you can see the UNESCO ISKCON mission, they are also working very rapidly. They are protecting these Hindu others people, but Buddhist communities, they are officially talking about that. And there is also Ramakrishna Mission and others minorities organization, they are working. But the not only that places, also the Arunachal also I talking the Rajboshu also we working that. There also the conversion also be there. So you can that also the real Bangladesh. Okay, thank you.
Let me talk a bit about the comment. Actually, the government of Bangladesh, the present government I'm talking about, they already gave a very good initiative for the minority peoples. They have the minority commissions fund. We call the fund for the minority peoples, for the Christianity, for the Hinduism, for the Buddhism. They make the fund, and who apply for the fund, they are supporting for preserving the cremation place, preserving the monasteries, preserving the religious education site. So this government, they are doing it. And they make some other further commitment is that one of the Buddhist minister, I asked him that, why not you support for the free primary schools student for the study of religion? He said me that the government not allowed it. But if you start in the temple for the free religious studies, we can support you. So they have done it. They have done it already. In the temple, they make the free primary school-based education. It's especially for the religion. So in Chittagong district, for Buddhist, I'm talking about the Buddhist, more than now 200 temples became a free primary school religious studies center. So it's giving us the facilities. Never got it before. And also in the hill tract, also same thing. The government is declared this project for everyone, for the minority peoples. And Hinduism also, they have the monastic education, the temple education, they also provide. And also the Christianities too. So this is the government side. And you mentioned about the monasteries, what the monasteries is doing for the social language Buddhist. Monasteries, say for example, now I'm the president of one of the, I can say this, the religious studies group, Buddhist religious studies group. We set up this 1974. So we are working for the temple, only for the temple based on religious studies. So I have now more than 200 temples where in the morning they are giving the religious education. So temple is engaged. Not only for that, we have many temples, they introduce the orphanage. The Buddhist children or the poor children who cannot take care in the family, we bring them to the temple. And temple have an orphanage, so we keep them there. We are giving all kind of facilities to them in the temple. So this orphanage, of course, financed by the government. This is real fact, whatever I'm talking about. So this going on. So these kind of things, how can we do? We are doing. And temple monks, mostly the hillside and the plain area, a little bit different. The hilly Buddhists who is living in the hillside, actually they are not much aware about the religion. If you go there, you can see them. But if you come to the plain area, most of the Buddhist people, they are very aware about their religion. And if there are 20 families, they have one temple. If there are 20 families, they build a temple. If they don't do anything, but they build the temple. So this kind of support, as I mentioned in the ministry, we have a group where those ministers, the religious ministry, they finance. Slowly they are giving very little finance, but still they're supporting to us. So if you talk about the previous time and the present time, it's a little bit different. It's going to change slowly because most of the people, say for example, Buddhists, they never became a minister. They cannot be a MP, member of parliament. But now 3 Buddhist person, they are the MP. And one, he became the minister. How it is possible if the government is not supporting us? They're supporting. And even, in the education side also, one professor, he already retired, Dr. Kanak Kumar Barwa. He became the vice chancellor for 4 universities. At that time, 4 universities. He was the PC, very powerful person. And the very beginning time, Dr. Prabhat Kumar Barwa, another Barwa, he was the first pioneer of the VC for Buddhist communities. So nowadays, I calculated a lot of principal from the many different colleges, they became the principal. Before we cannot find it out. So nowadays, a little bit is changing. So we are very hopeful if the government is running on, I think it will be better for the people, or the minorities people. Thank you very much.
I just want to know. You were talking about one Bihar, Vasu Bihar, yeah, near Mahasthan. Swenchang has referred or mentioned in his travelogue that towards west some 20 li, that is 10 kilometer west of the city. There was one monastery. He named it as Pashifo. So Pashifo, how to reconstruct in Sanskrit or in Pali, we have written Vashibha, and you are saying Vasu. So is it a modern name or ancient name or reconstructed by someone? Can you?
Thank you very much for the question. So I think that one is the Chinese word. The present word is the Basu. Whatever we mentioned now is the present word they are using, the Basu Vihara. That one is the Basu, I think. Thank you very much.
Really, it is very nice to listen or to know that the present Bangladesh government is also supporting the cause of Buddhism, and definitely the present government is quite friendly to our country as well, to so far as preservation of our culture is concerned. But I hope and I wish that Buddhist community also remain vigilant and quite concerned for preservation and propagation and strengthening of our culture, so that it doesn't go to ashes. So anyway, I think this was the only, since it was a special lecture, and lot of questions and queries are also made, and those queries and questions have enhanced our knowledge about the Buddhist heritage in Bangladesh. So I congratulate Bhante Professor Gyan Ratanji for your very interesting and informative lecture on Buddhist heritage, culture heritage of Bangladesh. Let this culture prosper in the coming times. Thank you very much. And I thank Professor Saraswati and the organizers who gave the opportunity to me to chair this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, our next lecture session, our speaker, Professor Subhash Chandra Saha, Honorable ex-Vice Chancellor, Assam University, Silchar, and Rajiv Gandhi University, Arunachal Pradesh. Let me introduce sir to all of you. Professor Subhash Chandra Saha is the former Vice Chancellor of Assam University, Rajiv Gandhi State University, and Pragya International University. He has also been the director of School of Management Sciences in Bengal, Engineering at Science University. In connection with academic assignments, he visited several universities in Australia, Canada, China, Ireland, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and United Kingdom. He has published 11 books on literature, religion, and education. Professor Saha had taken keen interest in Buddha and Buddhist studies. He attended seminars and conferences on Buddha and Buddhism both nationally and internationally. He became the editor of the Mahabodhi Journal and head Mahabodhi International Publication and Media Division. He published a book entitled Swami Vivekananda and Swami Avedanand on Buddha and Buddhism, and a monograph on Anakarik Dharmapala. He has contributed several research articles to several research journals. At present, he is engaged in writing 3 books on the educational philosophy of Swami Vivekananda, Anakarik Dharmapala and his contribution to the revival of Buddhism, and Hinduism and Buddhism, a perspective on intercultural assimilation. For this session, the chairperson, I would like to request Professor Lalji, Head Department of Pali and Buddhist Studies, Banaras Hindu University. Sir, please. We are now going to felicitate Professor Saha, and to do the honor, I would like to request Dr. Arindam Bhattacharya, Head of the Department of Pali, Sanskrit College and University. So please. Now, we request Professor Saha to start his lecture session. Please, sir.
Good afternoon to everybody. The chairperson, whose name I missed. Huh? Malal, yeah. We stayed together in Anand. Professor Love. Professor Love he's like Alexander Cunningham. Wherever I go, it was in Bangkok, Professor Love is there. It is Anand, Professor Love is there. Kalani University, Professor Love is there. And coming to this extraordinary building constructed by the government of West Bengal, I am stunned. I am stunned by Professor Love's sincerity, his loving memory, his dynamic activities, and I'm really, all these, I'm stunned by this building. I have also read and studied in different universities and taught in different universities. But nowhere, of course, barring the universities in the foreign countries, I have seen such a beautiful building. I don't know whether, because I was studying at Cunningham, he was an engineer and he dug up so many Buddhist sites. Whether such a building will ever be buried. And I'm very grateful to Professor Shashwati Mutsuddhi, Professor and Head of the Department of Pali, to remember me. Everybody knows that I have not studied Buddhism, in BA, MA or PhD level. I had the opportunity to study a little bit in the history books when I was in class 6, 7 and 8. But why Buddha is everywhere, this I realized when I became the Vice Chancellor of Assam Central University. My colleague, former colleague, Pradip Palit is here. University was closed. There were demonstrations, fight. So my predecessor left and he submitted his resignation, and the colossal charge of getting a university, central university opened and run properly fell on me. I never wanted to be a vice chancellor. I wanted to be a teacher and always remain a teacher with a chola, carrying some books. But when these came to me, I did not take the challenge. Rather, I felt God has given me this challenge and opportunity. In 1 or 2 days, I got it opened. I invited all people of that area to give suggestions. And all people came forward. And many people say, how did you do it? Well, it is the grace of, not only grace of the Hindu gods, but Buddha. Because when I started the university's routine work, I found it is impossible to run the administration because everyone is fighting with the other. I was racking my brain how to get peace, harmony, so that the university prospers. One night, it flashed on my mind the photo of Buddha, the serene photo that was there in our class 6 history book, and one page about him, and the bold 2 words, the middle part, flashed on my mind. And then I went to sleep very peacefully, and it is the middle part which I adopted for running the administration of the university. I am telling you this personal experience because why Buddhism is so important. It is not only a religion. Buddha is not like, don't take me otherwise, like Muhammad or even Jesus Christ. Buddha is for all. It is the Buddha who showed me the way how to run the administration of the university. And all this I'm saying not in praise of my work, but I could feel the blessings of Buddha in me. And when my tenure was coming to an end, say 5 years, EDC and MHRD, they said, Professor Shah, we want to make you the Vice Chancellor of another university because during your time, no corruption, no neither fighting, no mudslinging. All this because of a precept of Lord Buddha. Bhagavan Buddha. Hindus, when they fail to solve any problem, they think of Bhagavan. I found that Bhagavan in Buddha. So I started reading him. And after I retired from various assignments, I went to Mahabodhi temple, meditated there, and the secretary asked me to write a book on Buddha. And I stayed there, writing that book. just beside that room, there is a temple. Buddha is there. And I'm surprised. You know, my grandson was that time perhaps 4 or 5 years old. He will go there and he'll do pranam. So Buddha, I was listening with great interest to the very scholarly paper that was read out by my preceding speaker. Why Buddha is everywhere in Bangladesh? We have heard from I have heard from my parents during the partition how much bloodshed was there. Then I remember when Buddha, there was this dispute between the two Janapads because of the water of the river. They wanted to fight, but Buddha said no. Vivekananda in his Chicago addresses, he is a spokesman of Hinduism there. But he devotes one day's lecture entirely to Buddha. And somewhere he has said that I want to be the Bengali word is das. I want to be the slave, not slave actually, the disciple of the disciple of the disciple of the disciple of Buddha to lead a complete human life. Rabindranath Tagore, he is a Brahmana, but he says Buddha is the greatest man ever born in this world. Yesterday I was reading once again A.L. Basham's book, The Wonder That Was India. There also, he's a historian of London University. There also, he writes, Buddha is the greatest man in the world. And because why Ashoka has become so great, and Ashoka is referred to as Ashoka the Great. ATUL says Ashoka is one of the best emperors of the world because he adopted Buddhism. For me, Buddhism is not only a religion, and when I hear this classification, minority, in my heart of heart, I get pained. Those who are following Buddha's teachings, how can they be minority? Only Buddha can save the world. Buddha's teachings, which were propagated more than 2,500 years ago. So when I got this call from this illustrious professor, Professor Mutsuddhi, he asked me, sir, how's your health? That is a basic question that is put to me by everybody. First question. I say, I'm very well, and I'm more well because you are speaking with me. And then he asked, because she knows that my mind is a roving mind, I studied English literature, I studied management, I studied law, and so she knows that I'm doing something or the other. Of course, I get a scolding from my wife because I don't do any household work, I'm only on the table. I told her, Saraswati, that I'm now, going through the French literature. Lots of books I've bought. Then he said, sir, you come to Pali. Leave French, come to Pali. And then he told me about this conference. And when I got the letter just 1 or 2 days ago, email, I found this is a conference of distinguished speakers. And when I was listening to the previous lecture, I felt really, and also the interactions, that this is, Saraswati has gathered many distinguished speakers. Only my assessment regarding me that I will be an exception. I'll be the most undistinguished speaker. You have to bear with me. Since I've been invited, I have to say something. And I wrote something. I was, I was reading lots of books on Buddha, Buddhism, both by the foreigners and the Indian writers. My paper is short, that's why I gossiped.
Everybody is waiting for the lunch.
Yeah, that I know. Now, I was pained to find that the British conquest of India has been mostly, criticized because the British has taken away everything from India. But when I was reading the books, I found that not all Britishers, there are many British well-wishers. This William Jones, they fell in love with Indian theology, Indian literature, and Indology. And my previous speaker has often referred to Cunningham. Cunningham came to Calcutta, was sent to Calcutta. Cunningham was sent to Calcutta at the age of 19 by the East India Company. His father went to Sir Walter Scott. Hello. He went to Sir Walter Scott, who was the poet laureate at that time, to find a job for his 2 children. It is better to be a monk, It is my grandson of 3 years old, she is taking on this problem. Because, you know, he asked me, where am I going? And then he says, which car? Because I've got a car. No, which car you are going? I said, Shashwati Auntie's car. And so he said that he wants to come here. I said, this is a university, what will you do? I will be there. And Shashwati Auntie, I actually don't know how to make it. Hey, Shashwati, তুমি একটু মিট করে দাও তো।
স্যার আপনার এত ভালো পেপারটা শোনার জন্য বসে আছি আমরা
আমরা বলছি বাবা একটু গল্প করতে দাও, তারপর তো 2 বছর 3 বছর বাদে। Now this is the gist of my paper. That's why I'm telling about this Alexander Cunningham. His father went to Walter Scott, and then Scott told him that, you know, East India Company, they have started an engineering institute. You send your son, and then he can be posted to India. So he had a 1 year's study there, and then he arrived, and he did not have much work. He was appointed as an ADC to the Governor General, and spent all his evenings with James Prinsep, who came earlier. He was sent to develop the East India Company's coin. And so James Prinsep was studying all the coins of the ancient India. And he came upon these Ashoka's coins. And so in this manner, Prinsep developed a love for India's past. And by associating with Prinsep, the young man also fell in love with Indian Indology. And so when he was sent for constructing roads and other things, then he dug up and found many Buddhist sites. So I will speak about that only very briefly. My eyesight is not very good, so I'll not look at you. I'll look at this book, and please listen with some patience. History tells us that though history tells us that though Buddha's teachings brought about an unprecedented transformation in man's thinking about human life and divine benediction, Buddhism ceased to be the revolutionary force in the Indian society and their culture, since the Mohammedans came and demolished every vestige of Buddhist art and architecture, sculpture, temples, and viharas with a sheer vengeful atrocity. It is a lamentable fact that erased the name of Buddha and the religion of Buddha from the land where Buddhism originated. For about 4 centuries, since the 13th century, the colossal uprooting of the dynamic and predominant religion of India took place because of an alien, marauding, and devastating looting, plunder, and beheading, as well as arson, brought about the tragic end to a religion which brought peace and solace to millions of people in India. However, the story of the history of Buddhism in India is a checkered story. In this paper, I will try to focus your attention on an unforeseen phenomenon that restored and revived Buddha and Buddhism in India from 18th century onwards. Unfortunately, there is as yet a shocking dearth of literature on this aspect of the story of Buddhism. I refer you to the archaeological excavations carried out by the British engineers and officers who were sent from Britain to look after the administration of East India Company, and since 1857 the administration of the British India during Queen Victoria's reign. Before I proceed to the main theme of my paper, I would like to narrate the massacre carried out by the Mohammedan invaders on the Buddhist sites, including its plethora of temples, viharas, and the massive destruction of Buddhist sites continued over the years till the reign of Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. The massacres of Buddhist shrines, as well as their monks, started as far back as 1193 to 94. 200 armed horsemen crossed the Ganges at Varanasi in mostly Fiji slaves. They were led by Muhammad Bakhtiar. The Muhammad Hassan Nizami recorded in a chronicle, I quote, he, that is Bakhtiar, passed by his sword the land of Hind from the filth of infidelity and the impurity of idol worship and left not a temple standing, unquote. Bakhtiar not only demolished the temples and viharas, but also Asia's largest university at Nalanda was completely burned down along with its huge library. I quote Charles Allen, quote, what Muhammad Bakhtiar did at Nalanda and the other great monasteries in Bihar and Bengal was once and for all. For Buddhism in northern India was the final coup de grace, that is the final end, and its consequences were catastrophic. The virtual obliteration of every page of 1,000 years of Buddhist history on the subcontinent. Thus, India's Buddhist past was all but lost and very soon forgotten, unquote. But the cycle of events took a new turn in the history of Indian administration. The Mohammedan rule weakened and the British sway in India started in the 7th century. East India Company started its trade and gained ground as days passed by. The company officials were empowered to grab land by engaging in war with the Muslim rulers. Through their updated skill in military power, cunning as well as diplomacy, the company became a powerful ruler. At the Battle of Plassey, Lord Clive, Governor General, defeated Siraj-Dowlah, and thereafter he expanded his area of operation. The success of the British entry into India brought about almost wholesale change in Indian society. The trend of Western lifestyle set in. Even in religious matters, the British government, both under the East India Company and then Victoria's rule, made a widespread effort to introduce Christianity throughout the length and breadth of the country. The Indian subcontinent, no doubt, historians depicted the British rule in India as a rule of tyranny and oppression, but one good result, as but one good result was the rediscovery of Buddha and Buddhism, which was buried under the soil of India by the British engineers and officers, brought into light the glory and wonder of the Buddhist art, architecture, sculptures, and thus aroused people's interest in the teachings of Buddha once again. Their contribution to the revival of Buddhism in India cannot be underestimated. Various British officials took a deep interest in their findings. Events led on to events, while constructing roads and laying railway lines through the forests and out of the way landscapes. They came upon these objects of India's glorious past during Buddha's lifetime and subsequent 1,000 years of the prosperity and propagation of Buddhism. Throughout the country, among many officials who took profound interest in on account of Indian history and Indology, mention must be made of William Jones, H. Wilson, James Prinsep, Alexander Cunningham, John Marshall, who by their personal efforts threw new light upon the history of ancient India. Prominent among them in respect of excavations is Alexander Cunningham. Since time is limited, now I find time is more limited. I will highlight the contribution of Alexander Cunningham, 1814 to 1893. Cunningham came to Calcutta from Britain at an early age of 20 plus. He had his professional education in the East India Company's Engineering Institute. But in Calcutta, he did not have enough assignments. So he spent his evenings with James Prinsep, who had been sent to Calcutta earlier to develop distinctive company coins and set up a mint for that purpose. Prinsep studied the ancient coins of India, which aroused his deep interest in the history of India. And Cunningham, by associating with him, also developed interest in the Indology. In 1850, Cunningham excavated Sanchi, the site of some of the oldest surviving buildings in India. In addition, to a study of the temple architecture of Kashmir, which was published in 1848. And a work on Ladakh was published in 1854. He published the Ilsr published in 1854, the first
Please
serious
conclude.
attempt to trace Buddha history through its architectural remains. Earlier, in 1837, Cunningham excavated at Sarnath outside Varanasi, one of the most sacred Buddhist shrines, and carefully prepared drawings of the sculptures. In 1861, Cunningham agreed to become director of Indian Archaeological Survey and remained with it until it was dissolved in 1865. He resumed his post when the survey was restored in 1870. During the next 15 years, he carried out many archaeological explorations among the ruins of the northern India. He published the Ancient Geography of India in 1871, the first collection of the edicts of the 3rd century BC Indian Emperor Ashoka, and the other book, the Stupa of Baruch, in 1879. After his retirement, he devoted himself to Indian numismatics and wrote 2 books on the subject. He was knighted in 1887. His contribution to the revival of Buddhism is immense, and it should be adequately acknowledged in our writing the history of Buddhism in India. Lastly, I point out that all the Buddhist sites should be developed into tourist spots, particularly because they are of great, they are great sites of reverence to the Buddhists as well as the non-Buddhists interested in the study of Buddhism. Hence, they require the attention of both the central and the state governments. This will attract vast amount of revenues both from foreign and domestic tourists. This will also encourage academic researches in the great subject of Buddha and Buddhism. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami.
Thank you, Professor Subhash Chandra Saha, Honorable ex-Vice Chancellor of Assam University, Silchar, and Rajiv Gandhi University, Arunachal Pradesh, are presenting your very nice and interesting talk on the excavations done by the British engineer and officers for unearthing the ancient sites of Buddhism. You have pointed out how the name of the Buddha was erased from the land of its birth and have focused on the revival of Buddhism. You have thrown light especially on the works of Cunningham and Prinsep. Thank you, Professor Saha. And I think lunch is waiting. So we have no time. Just I want to thanks the organizers for giving me an opportunity to be here and preside over this session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Now, I also point out that no other speaker could give you a lunch. I have given you this.
Lunch, yes.
Other speakers,
Yeah.
gave you the scope for discussion, but I give you the lunch.
You gave the lunch.
So now we will have our lunch break, and after the lunch break, we have the academic session. Distinguished faculties and students are going to present their papers. So please proceed for the lunch break. Thank you.
Thank you.